Moving on now to the international papers with Nick Rushworth. Hello there.
Hi to you, Kat.
We're leading, of course, in our news bulletins on the search for the missing AirAsia jet, and you've been looking at what some of the Indonesian newspapers are saying.
Well, I turned right away to the Indonesian papers because obviously in terms of the people missing, feared, dead, they are mostly Indonesian, the vast majority of them. So let's look at the Jakarta Post, which has lots of stories, of course, including this one about desperate families awaiting news of loved ones. Now, that piece focuses on their stories, but also of what we hear about so often in these kind of events. The lucky escape, a family of 9 who showed up at the airport in Indonesia 2 hours late. They hadn't got the email saying that they had to be there earlier than they were expecting. So they got there, were told that they could go on the next flight, but then learnt that, in fact, the plane they were supposed to be on was missing. Of course, they chose to cancel the whole thing outright. So that 9 members of the same family there really kind of heaving a huge sigh of relief.
Very happy to have missed that email, I expect. You've also got an editorial about this from the Indonesian press.
Well, this is the paper Tajuk Business Indonesia, written in Indonesian, and their editorial is saying that this accident now will be a test for the Indonesian government. There has to be really clear solutions from the government about dealing with the families who may have lost loved ones, that there should be a whole support group in terms of dealing with the psychological trauma of what they're experiencing. Now, the stress there, again, in this paper is very much that with these kind of air disasters, there's a lot of media focus, there's a lot of world attention these days, and that has a real hammer blow effect to the economy, and it says that the reputation of Indonesia stands at stake at this point. So there, of course, what we're experiencing is this whole question of the horror that we've seen this year of a number of flights that have resulted in a lot of people dead. Another paper, Business Insider, based in the UK, is actually telling us that we've had 8 major air crashes this year, and if you include this one as being possibly one of the crashes, the number of people dead, the sheer number of them, will be actually up to the numbers of 2005. So the worst year for civil aviation since 2005, we're assuming at this point. Now, of course, Malaysia Airlines had 2 large accidents, didn't it? Disasters with more than 500 killed. So that country feeling the impact especially, but also Indonesia and other countries around Southeast Asia.
Of course, very difficult year all round. Let's move on with another one of our main stories today. We're talking about the departure of NATO troops from Afghanistan, a 13-year mission ending, mixed results.
Well, this is covered in full by The Independent in the UK, which has a story that the war is over, but the battle goes on. The Taliban is rampant, it says, and it points out that easy-to-assemble roadside bombs have become the weapon of choice for the Taliban. Those roadside bombs are easier to hide, they cost a fraction of other weapons, and the paper talks to an explosive expert, Abdul Afghanyar, who works for the Afghan police. He's actually disarmed, get this, Catherine, 6,000 roadside bombs in 5 years, and he's become a local hero with his own Facebook page. That's turned against him, though, where he's, with that publicity, he's actually had threats from the Taliban. There you can see that story. The Taliban have been calling him and his family, threatening them. So no good news for him there.
We did see an attack quite recently, didn't we, on some Afghan people who were disarming these sorts of bombs. We're going to move on to a different story now, very different, very intriguing story that we've all been following for a few weeks. And we're looking at the Hollywood Reporter for updates on this. This is the Sony hack, North Korea suspected, of course. Hollywood Reporter, not something that we usually talk about in your press review.
Well, absolutely. Of course, if you want to get the hot news from LA, then you go to the Hollywood Reporter, and that gives you have a whole choice of articles there about this story. It's one of the most incredible of 2014, isn't it? But the one I liked was about this one, that in fact North Koreans, activists say, really want to see this film. And it says that Chinese traders and smugglers are getting the movie to them, to North Koreans. It's already available in illegal downloads in China and South Korea. I was prompted by that, actually, to go and have a look at the South Korean press. There's a cartoon in the Korea Times that stood out for me, and it takes the mickey out of the supreme leader, Kim Jong-un, who is having a hissy fit, really, as he sees that his internet access is down, and he seems, yeah, I hate North Korea. So very much... there's a comic side, but also a very dark and serious side to this story, isn't there? Let me just finish on one other cartoon, which is in the Washington Post, and it's not looking at 2014 and what happened, or 2015, but 2016.
Oh, really? 2015 is not interesting.
What do we have in 2016 in the States? The US royal family, take your pick between Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush. So some of the papers looking a bit further forward than we actually think.
Okay, very interesting. Well, we've still got 2015 to get through, so thanks very much for now, Nicholas Rushworth, looking through the international papers for us.